WWT presents Meet the Chief.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Meet the Chief. I'm Tracy Sever. I'm the head of global cyber strategy and go-to-market here at WWT, and I am thrilled to be joined by Balaji, who's the CEO of ThreatConnect, who's been in the seat for 2 years, and Amy Salvatore, a partner at NightDragon. So thank you guys both so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Exciting.
Yeah, no, we're thrilled to have you. For some background, ThreatConnect is an AI-powered threat intelligence operations and cyber risk quantification platform, and they're really doing some innovative stuff in the market that we're really excited to talk to you guys about. Before we kind of get into the technology, though, Amy, can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know you from your days at McAfee and Forescout. We go way back, but if you can share with everybody how you ended up in venture capital, it's a really interesting story.
Yeah. Well, it certainly wasn't planned. I mean, I'm kind of a believer that some of the best things in life are those that aren't premeditated, and that's certainly the case here. So I actually started my career at Arthur Andersen before they were split from Andersen Consulting in their tax practice, selling tax services, and then made my way over to technology. Have been in tech for about 22 years, cyber for 13 years. Many companies that you're aware of, Tracy, and where we met. I started at Documentum, where I met Balaji. That was kind of the mid 90s. And just to put that in perspective, I don't even think I had a cell phone. In fact, one of my first cell phones was a Motorola brick phone, which wasn't even a flip phone. And then from there, I ended up at EMC, McAfee, Intel Security, and ended up at Forescout. And I stay at my jobs for a very long time. I was at Forescout for about 7 years. I've been in business development pretty much my entire career. And really liked Forescout. I was having a great time there. But what happened is we got bought by private equity. And for anybody that's been through that experience, in the beginning, it can be pretty tough because private equity is not about growth. And I had just come off of the heels of taking Forescout public, and we really enjoyed the vibe and the energy that we had there. It was a very different feeling when private equity came in. And so I knew that I had to do something different. Started looking around at different roles and just wasn't really feeling that excited about doing another SVP or VP of business development role, which I'd been doing for so long, and ended up calling Dave DeWalt, who's the founder and CEO of NightDragon and had been the CEO or on the board of every company I'd worked for. And he was starting NightDragon, a venture capital fund, which was named after a critical infrastructure attack that was waged on the US by China during his time at McAfee. And he really wanted to help multiple companies and kind of be at the epicenter of cyber. He needed somebody to run business development for him. It wasn't exactly the same role that I'd been in previously. And I thought, well, I'm gonna take the leap and do something totally different. It's been great. I run business development and platform for the company, and I'm a partner now. So it's been great.
Amy, that is amazing. And it's incredible to watch your journey and all of the really innovative and exciting companies that you help grow and kind of bring to life. So I want to kind of double click into your connection with Balaji. So how did you guys meet? And then how did you find yourself reconnected again through NightDragon?
Yeah, well, that's a great story. And it's so fun to be here with Balaji today. We've actually known each other for over 20 years. And we first met, I mentioned kind of my career trajectory. If you look at my history, my first real tech job in tech alliances was at Documentum. And it was such a different time back there. It was in the late 1990s. That's where I met Balaji. He was the head of product. Dave DeWalt was our CEO. And I was running alliances. And the great thing about working for somebody like Dave is he's really go-to-market focused, believes in the power of partnerships. And so in my tech alliance role, even though I was relatively junior, I had sort of unfettered access to the executive team and worked very closely with each of them, including Balaji, to make sure that we were building the right integrations to the right tech partners. And, Balaji and I just got along great. In fact, there was just a great vibe across that entire company. We have a lot of nostalgia for the energy that we had when we were during that time. And then we were brought back together because, we already kind of tracked each other throughout our careers, and we re-engaged when he was at Symantec and I was at Forescout. But then we got back together because there was an opportunity for NightDragon to actually provide advisory services for ThreatConnect, which is what we're doing for them now. And Dave was the person that reached out to Balaji and re-engaged. And I had the pleasure of reuniting with him in San Francisco. And so now here we are.
I love that story, and it's amazing how small our community is, and it's such a great experience to be able to work with people that you really enjoy over and over again in different capacities as you bring on new skill sets and get to take on exciting new projects. So that's so cool, Amy.
That's right. It's a good lesson on the power of relationships and that everything kind of comes back around. So, you want to keep people close.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Especially the good ones. Yeah. Speaking of Balaji, can you tell us a bit about your journey and how you became CEO of ThreatConnect?
Yeah, so going back to, first of all, just building on what Amy said, it is really, the pleasure is as much mine when it comes to just staying in touch and then re-engaging with Amy. I still fondly remember, Amy, if you remember, back when we were working at Documentum, some of the best deals we worked on were the deals that really made the company so successful. Adobe was one of them. IBM was another one. SAP is another one. Those were some of the key foundational relationships that we had a chance to really build together that in turn helped us really from a go-to-market perspective, from a product expansion perspective, did some wonderful things for us as a growth company at that time. And so I think, as Amy said, and as you said, Tracy, it is a small world. It is a small world, and it's great to have these relationships keep coming back. It means a lot. So coming back to my journey to ThreatConnect, first of all, from the standpoint of my background, just like Amy, I also, one of my early years was actually at Documentum, working for Dave. And we then sold the business to EMC. And then when Dave left EMC to run McAfee, along with Mike DeCesar, he and I became co-GMs of the Documentum business. So we ran that for a while. And then after that, I had a chance to really go and work for Oracle under Thomas Kurian and Larry Ellison, running their business analytics and enterprise performance management product divisions. That was a great experience working with Mark Hurt. He came in about the same time as the president of the company and learned a lot about the go-to-market. That's really one of my first exposures to true go-to-market from one of the best companies from a go-to-market perspective in those days. And so about 2015 or so, late 2014, Symantec called me. They wanted to really have somebody come and run their enterprise security business. Essentially, enterprise security business at that time for Symantec was everything that was not Norton or LifeLock. So anything that was not consumer security. And everybody knows what Symantec was doing in those days, one of the largest platforms when it comes to cybersecurity. But they wanted somebody with a data and analytics background because, as we all know, over a period of time, cybersecurity has become a data problem and analytics problem. And so that's really what kind of brought me into the true quote unquote cybersecurity world. And when I came in to run Symantec cybersecurity, that's when, in a couple of years later, Amy and I got together again because of Forescout and the relationship that we had there between our product lines and marketplaces, et cetera. And after we sold the business to Broadcom, which as everybody knows, I did actually something that Amy is now doing, which is to actually go into the venture capital business. So I became actually an investor in a few companies, early stage as well as late stage in the VC world, investing in primarily cybersecurity, and had some really great opportunities to work with some great founders and a couple of great exits. But one of the companies that I worked with both during my Symantec days and also during my venture days is a company that has been very special to me, and that was ThreatConnect. And the reason it has been very special to me from those days is because I always felt that this is one of the few companies that's really trying to solve what I consider two really key last mile problems in the cybersecurity. And let me explain why. When it comes to the security these days, if not 5 years, 10 years ago, almost every organization has invested a lot of time and money in technology, tools, people. Whether that is endpoint security, network security, email security, identity access management, you name it, SOC, security operations centers, SIM tools, etc. And they also invest quite a bit in people. But if you were to kind of go and ask, as I'm sure you see that at WWD today, and you ask the CISOs, do you feel like you're you feel like you're protected well enough so that you can sleep well? Almost everybody says, no, not quite. They still feel, some hesitation in answering that question. And one of the things that I always felt is, over a period of time, I felt we all have enough technology that's really great technology. But the problem still is, what threats to focus these tools on, right? And there's a lot of attack actors out there, a lot of threats incoming, knowing which ones to really, focus on, and then knowing the tools and the teams to focus them on those threats has become a very important challenge. At the same time, on the flip side, almost every company is going through a huge digital transformation these days. And more digital assets. Almost everything is actually done, through internet in a digital manner today. And so your digital base and your digital exposure is continuously expanding. So the attack surface is continuously expanding. And as a result, we hear constantly in public press, et cetera, these vulnerabilities are coming in and these gaps exist, et cetera. The problem really has been companies are struggling to stay ahead of those things. So what we've felt and what I've always been feeling is you can't necessarily go and solve all the gaps, all the vulnerabilities, all the things. You really need to know where your highest risks are and making sure that you focus on them, and then you bridge the, fill the holes there. So that's where the risk side of it, prioritizing the right risks, is really critical. So ThreatConnect is special because it is one of the very few companies that tries to really bring the two elements, what threats to really, focus on, what risks to prioritize, and then make sure that that particular set of insights are made available to all the security infrastructure that the companies have invested, and then so that they can then focus on those and then protect that well. And so a couple of years ago, some of the investors that I happen to know, because I was an investor at that time, came in and said, ThreatConnect really want to it's coming to the next stage of the growth. Would you be willing to come in and then actually run the company and take it to that next level? And without, I definitely thought a little bit about it, obviously, because I was really enjoying my investment days. But then I said very quickly yes, because, I always love to be in the operational side, and perhaps I missed that. So I said yes. And so here I am a couple of years later.
Oh my God. And what a spot to be. It's amazing to hear your journey. There's so much to pull from just your history at Symantec and your comments around data, even before you got into your, the overview of ThreatConnect, because it's what you said, like, it just shows how much, wisdom you have in this marketplace, because it's always been a data problem and it always will be a data problem with the prevalence of AI. So just really interesting insights there, and really amazing to hear just how you guys bring board level issues to everybody in the organization and solve for it. Because if we think about what CISOs are concerned about, what CIOs are concerned about, it's all about understanding their risk exposure. And the fact that you guys are able to bring this to the practitioners to make their jobs easier and to make them more secure, it really just it's such a great full picture to bring to market. So just really cool to hear about that, Balaji, and what a mission that you have in front of you. Yes,
it is definitely a mission, and it is a very mission focused, and the company and the team is very much that type of a company. I mean, the employees in the company, they've been actually very passionate about this problem, and they've been at this problem for a number of years now. And, if any, the market is coming to us, we feel, because almost everybody's seeing this as an issue that they want to solve now. So,
Amy, I want to chat with you a little bit about one of the greatest perks of your job is that you get to see all of the amazing, innovative companies out there in the market. Can you talk to us a little bit about what really stood out about ThreatConnect, and kind of go through like the thought process from NightDragon? Like, how do you guys work with them? How do you interact with the business and really help accelerate their goals?
Yeah, we do. We see a lot of companies. I mean, it's just the nature of the business there's just an onslaught of companies that want to talk to you, want you to evaluate them, both from an investment standpoint and for advisory. And so I think we've gotten pretty good at zeroing in on the highest area, the areas where we see the most value and impact from the threat landscape. So to understand why we love ThreatConnect so much, though, I think it takes just a little bit of an understanding of who NightDragon is as a company and a little bit about our mission. Our goal as a venture capital firm is to really understand the offensive threat landscape and then scale up the best commercial defenses we can possibly find to meet that demand. And so that offensive landscape usually kind of comes from the federal government and insights into what's happening with threat actors and adversaries at that level. We have unique insights into that world because our founder, Dave, has obviously served on 4 administrations. He's part of the National Security Telecommunications Committee. He's the vice chair of CISA. And so he sort of knows what's happening at the threat actor level. And everyone on this call is aware that the threat landscape is escalating at a level exponentially like we've never seen it before. And so the first premise is that we need to understand what threats are out there. And ThreatConnect obviously does that. But where they really differ, and Balaji touched on this a little bit, is that they're not only aware of the threat landscape and then aggregating that threat data and rationalizing it and operationalizing it, but they're taking it one step further to take that high volume of data and threat information, apply it to a financial impact, actually putting the cyber risk in financial terms and in terms of where the biggest impact could be from a threat landscape standpoint and from a financial impact lens for the companies. And that then provides us the ability to take action and invest in the areas that matter most. And so being able to prioritize those threats is huge, right? Because we can all ingest millions of open source data and threat feeds, but you're going to get overwhelmed with the data that's in front of you. And so having that next level of quantification, and that's their risk quantification tool, to really zero in on where they should focus, where we should focus, our customers should focus, is what drew us to them. And then the other thing I'll say is NightDragon has this concept of 3 T's when we invest: TAM, team, and technology. I had to think about the third one there. And if you look at the team, it's Balaji, who we've known for 20 plus years. He's family. So we know whatever he's involved in, he did his own due diligence, and it's going to be a good ride for all of us. Secondly, technology. I just went through that. And then the TAM. And with the threat landscape where it is right now, what they do is critically important, not just for the reasons I described, but a lot of companies will leverage that tool to maintain business continuity and make sure that they're resilient, right? Because it decreases your downtime and makes sure that you're focusing on your highest priority items so that you can do other things.
Yeah, I love that insight, Amy, because that touches so much of what all of our customers are working towards, just from like if we look at their initiatives from an umbrella perspective, business continuity, cyber resilience, it's critical for everyone. And to be able to draw those connections with innovative technology, it just does incredible things for our mutual customers. One of the things that I would like to talk to you about, because you had mentioned it a couple minutes ago, where it's, you guys have an onslaught of companies that want to talk to you, that want to get your insights, that want to learn from all the things that you've done in your career, that Dave has done. How are you guys seeing the market? Like, what is the state of emerging technology look like in the market today? And then can you talk to us about like what you see as far as a future outlook? Because we've all gone through so much turbulence in the last 5 years that it's really interesting to hear that from your perspective.
Yeah, no, it's changed over the last year and a half, 2 years. It's been tough, especially over the last year for emerging tech companies, because we used to live in this era where IPOs were happening every other day. Company valuations were manageable. It's a completely different ballgame right now. And a lot of that is driven by the fact that there's a ton of consolidation in the market. And so there's kind of this inherent war that's happening in some ways where it's best of breed versus best of suite, right? You have big platform companies coming in like Palo Alto Networks and CrowdStrike and Microsoft. They want to consolidate everything under their platform and be the sole providers. And in many cases, they're succeeding in doing that. And it's a threat to the emerging tech, the innovative companies out there that are trying to stay ahead of the curve and innovate and be independent. And so, to some extent, you want to continue to ingest dollars and make sure that those innovative companies are innovating, but you also want to set them up for success to potentially work with some of these big platform vendors. The old adage, you can't beat them, join them, is somewhat true in this case, because what we're on task to do as their investor is to help set up the relationships that can help those emerging tech vendors establish integrations and partnerships with the Microsofts of the world, so that they then become a part of their overall solutions and obviously get downstream business from those vendors when they get installed, included in bundles. A lot of that happens through the work that we do with channel partners like WWT, for example, which is why our partnership with WWT is so important. If we can establish with a relationship with you, and by virtue of doing that, get our portfolio companies working with some of the big, large infrastructure OEMs and partnering with them, you then can carry through that innovative tech along with the platform play. And so there's a whole element of kind of, it's great for us from a marketing standpoint and from a go-to-market standpoint, because we can put these partnerships in place and help our portfolio companies while still helping them to operate as independent companies.
Yeah, Amy, that is just, I think that there's so much to unpack in everything that you just said. I mean, when we look at what you guys are doing from an alliances perspective, that's purely in our customers' interest too, because when we look at what they're tasked with doing, it's kind of creating this patchwork quilt. And then when the innovative technologies can actually go in there and say, I'm going to focus on integrating with a core platform that you have, it makes the adoption so much more successful. And it's really just a win for everybody involved in it.
Yeah.
And also answering to the market conditions, because we know that the CISOs that we work with, they're really tasked with reducing costs. And if we can give them an avenue to invest in innovation and continue driving this market together while consolidating, it's from like a SecOps perspective, from a financial perspective, and from investing in technology, it's just positive for everybody. So really, really cool insights there.
Yeah, I also think it just takes a little bit of reorienting the thinking of the emerging tech company too. I mean, we invest in growth stage companies, so they're a little bit more mature than the early startups. Mm-hmm. But you just have to sort of, by reorient their thinking, I'm referring to, it may not be that you go IPO, but getting acquired by a company like Microsoft or Palo Alto Networks or the like is actually a pretty good outcome too. So
absolutely.
So, so I think a lot of it is just kind of changing that mindset to some degree.
It is. Yeah. I mean, what you guys bring to your portfolio companies, it's just, there's so much value in it, because you've seen it all. I mean, being at some of those extremely large organizations over the years, the Symantec's, with Balaji being at Symantec and you being at Intel Security, that was so much part of the speed to innovation. It's picking up companies that are doing something different, tweaking it and innovating it, and then bringing it under the helm of a big platform. So there's just so many different avenues to explore when companies are growing out and really maturing their go-to-market. So
as long as it doesn't stifle innovation, that's what we want to avoid, right? Yeah, just to make sure that the innovation, that train still keeps moving, and that people keep innovating. It doesn't discourage people from doing it. That's right.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, and the reason I think the security is a very interesting world compared to maybe any other part of the software, broader software world, and that is because the competition for these companies that we're all kind of either building or operating or investing in is not the next competitor, but it is actually these bad actors. And so we really all have to stay one step ahead of them, not just one step ahead of the next platform player. And so really, in that sense, the innovation has to come from anywhere, and it'll come from anywhere. And if you do that, you really you want to make sure that it's not stifled. So you need an ecosystem like a venture world, et cetera, that is always there to kind of fund and help that kind of an innovation. And then ultimately, as Amy said, let the chips fall where they may. There's going to be, once there is a product market fit, the larger platform players will see the opportunity to both partner and or bundle or acquire over a period of time. And this platform play that we're all talking about today is not actually new. I mean, this is exactly what we used to talk about back in the Semantic and the McAfee days. We were the platform players and everybody else was smaller players. And today, the new age platform players are coming in and talking about it. But the innovation hasn't stopped throughout.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. Balaji, I want to hear a little bit more from you, kind of about your vision for the future of ThreatConnect. So, what's your next steps in your growth story?
Yeah, so I think, as everybody would say, and I will say the same thing, one of the most exciting things for us and for our customers is really the application of the generative AI to the problems that we're really trying to solve. As I said at the beginning of this conversation, security has become a data problem. ThreatConnect is actually a data company. And generative AI is all about the data. And the more data you have and the more data you can actually train the models on, the more insights that you can actually get. And so we feel like we have that greatest data in the world when it comes to the threat intelligence, the risk quantification, loss and the breach data, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is we have been actually, as you said in your introduction comment, we are AI powered. We are an AI company from get-go. So AI is not new to us. When the company actually, as a product company, started 7-8 years ago, it was born in the cloud, built on AWS, and it was actually from get-go built on the data and the AI approach. We've had strong IP around the machine learning capabilities and the broader AI capabilities. Why? Because when you have large sets of data, you really need to be able to sort through that pretty quickly and make sense out of it, either from a risk standpoint or from a threat standpoint. And so we have invested quite a bit in our data science teams and our overall data infrastructure teams. And what we now are doing is really powering that through the generative AI. And the areas that we are most excited about is really be able to correlate that data that we have with the other sets of the data that the companies actually bring to the table. So when we work with, so some of our customers are some of the household names, some of the largest customers in the world, Apple's, yes, IBM's, the JP Morgan Chases of the world. And they have a lot of data, we have a lot of data, and we kind of ability to kind of add this generative AI capability to kind of combine these things so that they can get these insights. That's number one. The number two is, as you alluded to at the very beginning, our secret sauce and our differentiator is not just about making sense out of data, but also operationalizing this data. How do you really get this to the downstream tools and teams so that they can actually take action on? And so this is really where the automation comes in. And this is another area the AI is actually helping us. You heard all this, code automation, software development automation, all these things. So we're applying a lot of that as well. And then the last but not least, we really, our fundamental mission in the life is we want to be able to get these insights to as many people as possible so that the actions can be taken pretty quickly. That means that not every person that we really want to talk to is the power user. They could be casual user. They could be an analyst that's just a junior analyst that's just coming on board, right? Mm-hmm. So what AI is giving us is an ability to kind of provide natural language interface so that they can actually just ask a question and then they can actually get an answer in an English-like language as opposed to, right, having to kind of sort through lots of esoteric information or answers. So that's really we're excited about. At the same time, there is another area that we're finding becoming very important, and that is the regulatory world and the SEC. What's happening, as you heard at the SEC, is this whole materiality clause. Basically, SEC is now asking that you have to disclose anything that actually happens in terms of the cyber incidents and the cyber response in material terms. And so what does materiality mean? It really means you have to quantify. You have to be able to say this particular risk has this kind of an impact that in turn is actually solved in the following way. And that's really where we come in. And so to your point that you made a few minutes ago, the boards are getting involved, the audit committees are getting involved. They're all basically saying, how do you translate all your risk in that context so that I can actually then make sure that the audit committee is actually approving right disclosures to the SEC. So that's another big area of focus for us. So fundamentally, what we're doing with respect to innovation in the AI side and also innovation in the regulatory side are the two big areas of, things that we're really driving pretty hard right now. And a lot of our customers are pretty excited about.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. And it's some of the things that you touched on as you were just explaining how you guys really drive differentiation. It made me think of the complexity that the practitioners are dealing with on a daily basis, and kind of how do you put something in someone's hands and get them to actually use it? Because I think there's this kind of concept of you can give people as much data, that they can handle, and they might not know what to do with it, right? Or they might not have the bandwidth to take action on it. And I think when you layer in the automation and you use natural language, you're opening it up for just greater adoption and leveraging the technology, because people can, with great intentions, can buy really, innovative tools and put them in their environment. But if you're not actually able to leverage the value and capabilities of them by the adoption and the usage, it's not as effective, obviously.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of double click into how you guys, from that lens, conquer some of the cyber complexity as you add new tools like this into the environment.
Yeah, no, that's it. I think as we have been talking about, it is, again, number one, from a problem solving perspective, it is certainly handled through, that ability to both make sense out of it, make sure that it is properly operationalized, and then most importantly, it's prioritized so that people are actually working on the things that are most important. The other thing, from a complexity standpoint, we feel very strongly that we got to be able to solve, and this is really where the partnerships and the ecosystem really comes in. Both Amy and I talked about the technology partnerships, right? And that's very important, and because that's really how you bring the solutions together. But when you get to the customer, this is really where you are the trusted advisor. Like, for example, if you take WWT, you are the trusted advisor. You are the ones that are actually at the customer site. You are the ones seeing the customer specific set of things, as opposed to a problem from a generic sense, right? And so while we do a lot of work around, being part of the broader technical ecosystem, making sure that whatever we are doing within that context is then brought to, the trusted advisors such as WWT, so that you can then help apply that, right, in a bespoke manner for that particular customer that is relevant to that particular customer, is becoming very, very important. Otherwise, this complexity cannot be solved or scaled. We need people like WWT. We need your ability to really take what we are doing and then apply it to customer-specific situations. And I believe that fundamentally, if we can actually then work together in that sense, individually, companies like us, ecosystem, connecting a lot of different companies to build, better together solutions, but then kind of do that from a marketplace perspective, go-to-market perspective through trusted advisors such as you, I think is really the only way in my mind to really be able to then solve that problem. Otherwise, as you said, great tech, not good adoption, still the same problems.
Yeah. Balaji, it's so accurate what you're saying. And when we sit with our customers, that's why we engage, and that's really the value that we drive at WWT. It's understanding their challenges, understanding the environments that they're living in today and their pressures, and being able to weave together something holistic that's transformational, that takes into consideration the entire architecture and what their maturation journey looks like. And we so appreciate these innovative partnerships, because it helps us put our customers in a position to drive towards the future and to face the new threats that they're dealing with head on. I mean, I know that we hear things about AI constantly, and it's starting to feel like a buzzword, but I think we all know that it's not. It's simply a new vector that has opened up that everyone is leveraging internally. And it's just, how do we equip our customers to deal with a very fast-paced change that they don't really have a lot of control over? So really interesting insights. And Amy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too. I mean, you're so involved in the partnership, building this partnership between NightDragon, WWT, with these really innovative companies like ThreatConnect. Love to hear kind of your thoughts on this and how you bring it all to bear.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything that Balaji said and that you said just now resonates with me. I mean, you asked earlier, why did we invest in so much of our time and our energy and into the partnership of ThreatConnect? I mentioned the technology, the TAM, and the team, obviously, but it goes beyond that. Because I run business development and I'm responsible for partnerships, whether or not a company is open to partnering and is a good complement to our partner ecosystem is a huge driver for us to work with those companies. And ThreatConnect is definitely that profile of company. Balaji mentioned how important the technology partnerships are. I think about their partnership with ServiceNow, for example. ServiceNow has a module that they've built out around ThreatConnect for their governance, risk, and compliance solution. For all of the reasons that Balaji described around how important compliance is these days, you need a tool like ThreatConnect, which is powered by one of the world's best AI analytics engines, to really figure out what the cyber risk looks like from a financial perspective, and then translate that into where there's potential risk, and how to take action on that risk, how to prioritize the risk. And so those are the kinds of tools that we look for, because we want to be able to form alliances with other tech partners. But then beyond tech partners, the even bigger opportunity with ThreatConnect, and this is where WWT comes in, is with advisory services, that high level cyber risk strategic consulting that WWT is so good at, leveraging your ATC and your cyber range services. You could potentially take this tool and go in and offer a cyber risk assessment for your enterprise customers and say, look, we've assessed your threat landscape. We've now translated those threats into financial terms for you, and we know where you should be focused as an organization. And oh, by the way, here's a list of products and services that you're going to need to solve for this. And so it's not only a great way for you to monetize, right? But as a vendor, you need to obviously be commercially minded, but it's also such high value for the customer. It's the highest value you can possibly provide, and it fits right within the WD model of being a trusted advisor for your companies. So it's really kind of the perfect tool from a partnership standpoint, and that's why I get so excited about it.
Oh, we're excited about it too, Amy. And it's just so spot on. I mean, I think that, in all of our seats, your seat, Balaji's seat, my seat, we have to put ourselves in the customer's shoes and think about what they're trying to accomplish. And a lot of times it's exactly that. It's like, what tools do I need to put into my environment to make sure that I'm understanding risk and I'm answering to it? How do I operationalize that? How do I have a trusted partner that's going to help me get there, that I can rely on? Because we all know this is such a volatile space at all times. And it's just really fantastic to do this with you guys. So it's been great learning with the technology. I do want to take another angle to this, since I have you guys here, though. You guys have done such amazing things in your careers, obviously, and professionally, just so impressive. But I want to hear a little bit more about what you do in your off time. So, Amy, I'll let you kick it off, but can you talk to us a little bit about the things that you're passionate about outside of making companies really successful?
Yeah. Well, I mean, outside of work, I'm actually a pretty lazy person. I like my downtime. I like my documentaries and my popcorn, and I love animals. I mean, that's where I spend the majority of my time. I'm either fostering animals or volunteering. I do a lot of charity work for animals. And some of it's can be a little depressing and taxing. It's discouraging because you see a lot of neglect, and that's not fun to see. But I have kind of turned it into a fun thing that I do here in the neighborhood. I live in San Francisco. I'm kind of in between Coal Valley and the Haight-Ashbury, and there's quite a few homeless dogs, which is unfortunate. It's kind of a shameless situation. Some of them are voluntarily on the street, some of them aren't. But I have a really great, fun little French bulldog that the whole neighborhood loves. And so we set out on the weekends, and I've got my little backpack of treats and toys. And sometimes I'll bring fold up beds with me. And we've gotten to know a lot of these owners and animals, and we'll just make their lives more comfortable by providing them with supplies and things that they need. Occasionally, I'll take them to vet appointments if I can convince them to spay and neuter the pet. And so I've developed relationships with a lot of these people and these animals, and it gives me a lot of satisfaction. And I'm really grateful to be able to have, be in a position where I'm able to give back like that. And if I can make any of their lives more comfortable or more content, then I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Aw, Amy, I love to hear that. That's such a beautiful thing that you and Finn are out there doing, and it's just you really are impacting people and animals, and just it's so wonderful to see you giving back in that way.
Oh, thanks.
No, of course. Balaji, can you talk to us a little bit about what you do outside of work?
Mine. I have a couple of passions, but nothing as inspiring as Amy's. I was getting goosebumps just hearing her passion. I have a serious passion and fun passion. Seriously, I'm a history buff, particularly the antiquity, Roman, Greek, etc. So I spent a lot of time really learning a lot about the world at that time, and history is always a great teacher for all of us. So I try to kind of learn, political, economic, whatever the cultural, all the different things that what they did, and then what we kind of see a lot of parallels today. So that's something I spend a lot of time, and I travel a lot of time as well related to that. But my fun passion is actually finding some of the best speakeasies around the world that I travel.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I just like fell in love with this hobby, and wherever I can go, I just want to see if there's some good speakeasies I can find. So.
Well, Balaji, when you come to Raleigh, North Carolina, I'll take you on a quick tour of our speakeasies.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for spending time with me today. This was so educational, honestly, just to hear about what ThreatConnect's doing. Amy, your insights are always so valuable and appreciated. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode. And everyone have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.